Looks like we're getting set up here. All right. So I'll just go ahead and re-say happy Friday to everybody. Welcome to another day in the markets. My name is Jared. This is Engineering the Markets. It is May 28th, 2021. We should be all good to go, and let's go ahead and get started. So SPY still putting in tight overall ranges inside of essentially a stone's throw away from all-time high. We've got a nice 4-hour trend that so far has not been threatened at this time. And we've simply been moving up the stair steps back to test some of these upper levels. Now, one thing we had marked was a previous top. This was sort of a last gasp of the market. Sold off pretty hard from this point, and then we had a false breakout move. We're starting to clear this overall area, especially in pre-market. And we're seeing a little bit of some volatile activity around the afternoon session yesterday. I'll go into a little bit of that in just a moment. But overall, the price action here is very facilitative of, at the very least, testing these upper ranges. We see that in the futures market as well. Some of this move has already begun. We're pretty much, once again, a stone's throw away from all-time highs. And we're just sort of building that structure to maybe look to test those upper ranges today. Obviously, a fail on any of these time ranges may lead to some downside volatility, but we simply have not seen that yet. So we don't want to predict something and only want to anticipate if it does happen, how do we trade it and prep for it? So, SPY is in a nice posture. The tech sector, specifically the Qs, similar idea, but not necessarily coming out of this range. We are building some energy in the Qs, and we'll look at a couple of key names that may sort of build a pro and a con case of whether or not this range will break bullish or bearish. But we simply need to respect that we did come off of a strong rally. Markets tend to consolidate after big moves, and we are at some areas of previous support that has turned into a zone of resistance. Now, we do have some swing highs in the past that we also need to test. And then we have, of course, our all-time high as we walk our way back up this structure. That is, of course, if the Qs were to test all-time highs in the near term. And finally, IWM, standing out, very structurally different than SPY and the Qs. We talked briefly yesterday about some of the activity going on in certain key names and how that is facilitating some of the upside movement in the IWM. But there was also additional strength inside of the IWM, the Russell 2000. Stuff like materials. We saw financials have a good day on Wednesday. Healthcare wasn't too bad. Industrials had a very strong day and is so far continuing that movement. So this is a more significant change than just one or two stocks sort of leading the way with large market cap. Think of your GameStops, think of your AMCs, and obviously Plug with a pretty good day on Wednesday. So IWM, we have to respect the fact that in a scenario where we were looking at a relatively flat market, this market is starting to really put in some signs of change. And if we draw just a straight line through this range, we are now in the upper portion of this area. Now, we've seen volatility between that. We've obviously seen these upper moves fail quite drastically. So nothing is for certain, but just based on recent price action, based on some of the internals, some of these rotational aspects of going back into maybe more risk on assets, maybe a little bit of growth assets, and just an overall posturing of the market, the IWM is starting to evolve and change from what was previously a more bearish sentiment. We obviously had things like the 20 and the 50, no real clear trend definition. And with an engulfing structure on Wednesday and a gap up and hold on Thursday, we simply just want to keep this on watch now. If this does have that continuation strength, then we will start to see things like 4-hour moving averages all lining up in the upper direction, building that trend scenario. We will start to move away from VPOC, which is roughly 220. And then this market may provide an alternate thesis where instead of thinking of this as distribution, this may be the beginning of another strong rally in the IWM. This is going to take obviously a lot of time to build. And with markets in such an extended mindset or posture, it's obviously one of those alternate thesis ideas. Usually people would expect markets that consolidate in an elevated position to want to come back down. But just as we have seen the market rally from significant lows to significant highs and then continue much further, we need to be prepared for the case where this does break bullish and leads to something akin to what occurred in previous history where we had recent consolidation. So IWM starting to change the tone, but we are seeing early signs. Nothing is confirmed yet. We're obviously still somewhere in the middle of this trading range. And even with significant rallies, they have shown to fail in the past. So we need to be aware that this could happen pretty much on a dime, as we saw in early March. Now, some different topics for today. If we look across some large market cap names, there was a bit of activity during the afternoon session. So stocks like Apple, we saw a pretty sharp drop off into the close, closing close to roughly the 125 level. Stocks like Microsoft, so our two big tech names, not nearly as weak, but definitely seeing some selling pressure into the close and some odd volatility in after hours, putting in these large range candles with some price oscillations in between. Now, a couple of stocks doing this may just be some weird prints, maybe something a bit more obtuse than that, with rebalancing of portfolios leading into a new month, as it is the end of May. Next week we have Memorial Day, so there is going to be sort of a change into the month of June. But we also see stocks like Tesla. Tesla coming off of basically a flat overall day, sharp increase in volume, and roughly a 20-point swing in a matter of a couple of minutes. Is that right? 30 to 10. Let's call it 15 points. That's 20 is a little too high. But anyway, big swing, noticeable candle, lots of volume. Something is going on. Tesla did this. Let's look at Google. Sharp sell-off into the close. These ranges are abnormal. The volume is abnormal as well. And what's even more interesting is that the after hours volume signature is actually skewing the daily volume overall. So if I shift this over, Well, I won't do it, but basically these after hour volume signatures are odd. I'll just leave it there. Another alternate case, Facebook. Sharp rally into the close. We're seeing significant ranges being placed in key big market cap names. And let's look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA coming off of earnings, maybe a little bit less volatile. So what does all this mean? Ultimately, I think I am basically just guessing that there is a big amount of sort of rebalancing occurring leading into next week. We see some signatures, maybe some footprints of market participants doing this rebalancing into the close yesterday. Now, what I find interesting about this is some of these stocks are near all-time highs. So we have Facebook. Facebook closed at a new all-time high based off of potentially some rebalancing. That is, of course, met with selling in Google, one of our other strong communication names, near all-time highs, but not seeing the same, I would say, rotational aspects of Facebook. Sure, Tyler. I'll explain rebalancing. So rebalancing typically is the idea that if you own a portfolio, you may be trying to allocate your cash or other investors' cash into that portfolio at certain percentages. This is usually to meet some sort of overall balance of maybe volatility in the portfolio. You may be wanting to just have a certain exposure to different sectors, depending on what stocks you're investing in your portfolio. That rebalancing has to take that into account. Some stocks have outperformed in recent weeks, months, etc., and some stocks have not. So in rebalancing, they may simply be looking to adjust their portfolio to meet those percentages. And that can be as simple as that could be the entire explanation for what we might be seeing. But so far, it is an anomaly. It's worth mentioning. And it did carry over into the SPY after hours as well. So if we look at the SPY, we see that there was some odd overall candles in the SPY. This led to, from our perspective, a technical breakout of the previous day high and this zone of resistance, which is, of course, another bullish, sort of tick for this uptrend continuing. But we also see some key names like Apple and Microsoft and Google coming off into the close. I would even say, to some degree, Amazon had a sharper sell-off than normal, a normal sort of day. So whether this continues is something that we can now start to observe. We see basically something that hasn't occurred in, maybe a month. It might have occurred at the end of April. We certainly didn't discuss it here. But if this has occurred, and if this is what's going on behind the scenes, does this affect us as technical traders and evaluators of the market overall? Are big money portfolio managers starting to move their allocations into other stocks? Maybe some of the bigger tech names they find are either overbought, they may simply just wish to reduce their exposure to them and take some of the profits that have obviously come about since last year. Now, we've been talking extensively about potential rotation back into growth stocks, whether that is defined as maybe more speculative stocks or stocks with at least a sort of, I'll say, a perspective of future allocation to grow as a company. Think of things like solar, think of things like alternate energy, EV, a little bit of the MJ space. We see some of the maybe cloud computing, just larger technology and startup sort of technology companies that are trying to carve into an industry or a portion of the sectors in the market that hasn't really been explored by a lot of big tech names. So some of these stocks are starting to rally from their lows. We see NEO coming off of a significant low. We see a lot of continuation, and we see things like volume starting to just overall steadily increase or just maintain its posture. To some degree, Lee as well, really strong couple of days, and XPEF, strong rallies. We also see that the solar sector so far has been putting in some potential bottoming action, with a monthly candle starting to close with a very significant lower shadow, and weekly candles putting in, at the very least, some sort of trend or retracement of the trend. Whether or not this continues is yet to be seen, but the volume is at least noteworthy as it's matching some of the selling from previous weeks. So with all of this, we talked about the idea of posturing yourself both ahead of a significant change, trying to find opportunities that are starting to base, and looking for just some shorter term upside or some sort of complete continuation play back in the direction of the overall trend. We do need to remember that a lot of these names had very strong performance last year. They have sold off significantly since then. The likelihood that they will continue their trend is, from a technical perspective, somewhat likely. However, there is such a large range between these names from high to low that as technical traders, we do need to expect lots of volatility in between. There's obviously going to be some consolidation occurring over time. And what we're trying to find is what is the best risk or reward if we're looking to go long. Some of these names may be putting in that posture. So whether you're looking longer time frame, monthly to weekly, I would say that there is definitely some signals that there may be some bottoming occurring. On the daily, we can see that even more clearly. And no matter which name I bring up, whether it be the MJ sector, solar, EVs, you can name other sort of like cloud related ETFs or just technologies in general. Look for these opportunities, look for whether they're in certain spots, and decide if you want to maybe re-enter into a strong sector from last year, something that outperformed the overall market, and just look for opportunities for swings. So let's see. Now, with money moving into these sectors, we also need to find whether strong sectors are starting to rotate out. So far, we haven't seen too much yet. I would say that financials is sort of our key sector on watch. So far, still holding in the trend. Haven't seen a ton of volatility up here, holding the 20 and pretty much nearing all-time highs, which is, of course, good for the overall SPY. Industrials still holding, in fact, gapping up yesterday, and moving higher from that gap up, so not being sold into a gap up. The posture here is still quite bullish. The trend is still indicative of potential additional upside. Energy. We're seeing things like crude starting to come out of this overall trading range. Maybe a little bit of a breach yesterday. And with the weekly, we certainly would love to see a close above the previous swing high. We haven't gotten that yet, but the posture so far is still one of strength. So while the energy sector hasn't been performing in lockstep with crude, there is still a case to be made of energy moving higher on accelerating crude, natural gas, gasoline, heating oil prices, whatever energy market you're looking at inside of the futures. They all tend to be in a posture of continued strength. And with all that, we kind of ask, okay, well, we see big tech getting sold yesterday. Maybe there is more selling to come in big tech. The performance yesterday on XLK was one of weakness. We saw Apple and Microsoft, the two biggest players, sold into whatever occurred into the close. So with XLK and with XLY, Tesla having the stronger case, Amazon maybe a little bit weaker. Let's see if this starts to really shift into June. Obviously, XLK at resistance, XLY at resistance, XLK selling off from previous swing high resistance. So posture here is that there is something changing in the market. We need to see what footprints is big money leaving us, and can we ride their wave as a small fish inside of a big pond. Obviously, we want to find the whales and harpoon them and ride their wave as long as possible. Another interesting mention is while healthcare was making highs in recent trading sessions, the continuation has been lackluster and the pullback has been met with higher volume. So a little bit of tricks and traps being placed everywhere. Obviously healthcare was standing out maybe as continuing its uptrend. It certainly hasn't lost anything yet, but the follow through has been one of selling, not continuation. So we will continue to watch that as it evolves. Now, another thing to briefly bring up before we talk about the final topic is we've been discussing the dollar in depth on pretty much every morning session. We were talking how the dollar has a trading range and the price oscillations has not been met with new swing lows. We have not broken areas of support. What we are seeing this morning is the dollar is doing what was anticipated, which is if the price of this index could not go lower and started to consolidate, there may be an opportunity for a downtrend to break to the upside. Now, with this, we obviously need to watch gold. We need to understand that there is a strong correlation between the dollar and the gold market. So if you are long gold and you believe that the dollar has bottomed, you once again, as we've been discussing, need to look for opportunities to either take profit or just to reconsider your short-term gold long position or whatever you're doing with this significant market that has been moving higher since the lows. Same idea with silver. This is the first time we've seen this trend line break. This break has been met with a close below. It is notable and significant. And it was also met with a swing, a lower high. That lower high was met with selling through the trend line. So the dollar is putting pressure on gold and silver, whether you have hit your target or whether you're looking to maybe just lock in some profit from a successful long position in the metals. We need to watch the dollar because it is actually breaking out, and that is affecting the metals market. It's also notable that typically a strong dollar is not a good sign for something like the crypto market. Crypto market tends to prefer a weaker dollar, and overall, we've seen some of the downside potential in the crypto market. If the dollar continues to rise from this position, will that be met with more selling in the crypto market? That's yet to be seen, but we did see a little bit of a reaction in Bitcoin this morning, dropping from roughly 37 to 35. And I believe at this time that's actually already starting to recover. So volatility remains in crypto. Dollar has an influence on that. If you're trading crypto or if you're investing in crypto, look into some of those correlations in the past and look for key points in time where significant moves in either market affected your overall posture inside of whatever coin you're investing in. Now, final topic before we call it a day and look into a market on fire. Everybody's talking about AMC. AMC had a fantastic momentum day to the upside yesterday. Congratulations to anyone who made significant profits yesterday. Whether you did it intraday, there was plenty of opportunity to the upside. Whether you have been holding as a swing position, congratulations. Obviously, lots of follow through, and overall, not really showing a lot of weakness yet. Inside of AMC, there are areas of interest in the option market that you as a day trader or an intraday swing, whatever it happens to be, should know about. And if you're looking at the option market, the easiest thing to do is look for spots where there is high volume and high open interest inside of AMC or inside of any stock that is starting to break some sort of technical structure. You're looking for where is the money and where is the risk. So yesterday, this is obviously an evolving story, but AMC had some very key levels that it respected from the whole dollar perspective. Things like 23 were seen as sort of a significant first area of interest. We saw a pullback from that area about to 21.8. 21.8 held multiple times intraday session throughout some oscillations as more and more positional risk was being built. And during the trading session yesterday, 23 had some of the highest volume of that time. Now, the open interest has been reduced. It seems as if some of that has been moved to higher strikes, but the volume was what was key. A lot of traders, a lot of market participants were putting risk at 23. As we started to break 23, look above and see where additional risk was being allocated. There were things like 28, which still has high open interest at this time. And then obviously the 30 psychological. Those areas, the price was actually drawn to as the price started to move higher and higher. And we've seen this in the past. We sort of know the back end response to when this occurs is that if you're a long a call, there has to be someone selling you that call. Usually that's going to be someone called a market maker who wishes to basically facilitate the buying and selling of options and profit on the spread that exists within the option market. Whenever they sell you a call, they are going to be positioned in such a way to where they have negative delta. So if you buy a call, you are inherently long delta. You have directional bias to the upside, you are plus delta. A market maker has to sell you that call. That market maker will be negative delta. They have directional risk as well. Market makers do not want to have directional risk, they have to hedge against it. In order to do that, typically they will go out and they will buy shares of the stock equivalent to the delta of the call that was sold. So if you, at this time, were to buy a 30 strike call, you are giving the market makers a negative 47.47 delta. And in order to alleviate that directional risk, typically they will go out and they will buy 47 shares to offset the risk. So now any downside, they can sort of change their allocation. Any upside, they can buy more shares as the delta increases. This can lead to something known as a gamma squeeze. And we have seen this occur before in some of these names. It is possible that this can continue. And knowing some of the mechanics of it, obviously, I've gone into a very brief explanation of it in the short time that I do have, can at least put you ahead of the game because you can know, one, where is risk defined in the option market. You can see it in the series that you're trading or just subsequent series. You can also see it from our technicals. AMC had some key levels back in 2016 to 2018. Most of those were achieved yesterday on the strong upside. And you can know why this is occurring. You can know why the tape is so aggressive. It's because market makers are trying to balance out their directional risk. And the more the price goes up, the more they have to adjust. So ultimately, know about this. It's important because it's happening. If you want to take advantage of it as a trader, it can be just additional information to give you that edge, and you can go into this market with confidence. Obviously, today things are about to expire on some of this early series. So with that, do not think that any of these stocks can fall more significantly than they have in the past. Pretty much anything can occur on Friday as market makers are trying to basically adjust their positional risk into the close. So with that said, I'm Jared. This is Engineering the Markets. A little bit of a longer session today, but it's Friday. Trade safe. Go into the weekend with confidence, with profit in your pocket. And obviously look for more information to come into June as we close out the May timeframe. So take it easy, trade safe. We'll see y'all next week and next month.
Good morning. What's going on, Bear Bull traders? How's everyone doing today?
Good morning, Thor. Let me just
Good morning, Sir Peter.
Oh, wait a second. Oh, man.
Peter. So you guys see the SPY came down into previous session's high and close a few minutes ago around 420.65 and immediately had a response to that level, squeezed up real fast to 421, but then immediately lost it back down. SPY looking a little unorganized this morning. I think if anyone's kind of looking to see the difference between like a day where the ETF is looking stronger or more organized, look at yesterday's pre-market, and you can see how in yesterday's pre-market it had these like big well-formed candles that were kind of moving around. Today you see some big candles, some small candles with little gaps in between and stuff like that. Definitely a little less exciting this morning.
Less exciting? What are you talking about? Markets are always exciting.
The SPY specifically.
All right, I'm
really interested, Peter, to see what happens with the SPY up here, man.
Yeah, I just have to get the screens going for our friends here in the chat room. So give me 1 second, everybody. There you go. Now you can see what's happening just like everybody on YouTube. All right. Well, guys, oh my goodness. Welcome to day 2 of the Peter and Thor show, or the Thor and Peter show, or the whatever you want to call it. 2 dudes, one with a hat. All right.
Two dudes in a chart.
Dude. Yesterday, I thought yesterday was a pretty good day. There was trading opportunity. Some of the stuff that we had on our list yesterday morning, as you can see, actually did move. Boeing had some great moves right off the open if you're into it, and I called it out as being something on my list. OCGN, I thought, had some moves later in the day, which you had to keep your eye on it because it was sort of flat for the morning, but then moved on. X had some good morning moves, but the talk of the day, certainly of the afternoon, was AMC. As Jared was just talking about and engineering the markets, I mean, I don't know. Like, I traded, oddly, my one trade of the day on AMC was way over here around 10 o'clock. I was actually trading with Andrew in the room. In my defense, I got in first, so I was there first. But I tried to trade a short trade right here, thinking, yeah, that's about when it's going to reverse. Man, was I wrong. I mean, look at this thing. It went from there, which I think my entry was, like 20.50 or something. It went up another $10 almost to hit $30. So I think, who knows what's going to happen today, but we can't not talk about AMC.
I also traded AMC yesterday, so that was my big trader, but I got in around 4 minutes or 5 minutes in, around 18.60, and my final out was somewhere around, where was it? I forget. It was like 25.75, I think, 25.80.
Yeah, you were right.
So got a pretty awesome run out of AMC. I had a huge day yesterday, put down about 15 R yesterday. So I was pretty stoked with the day in general.
Yeah, I know. You had a great day, and you obviously traded AMC a lot better than I did. So, that's
earlier.
But that's the way it goes, and that's okay. I had a good day, and I can't complain. And actually, I'll mention something here just up front that we talked about in the room yesterday. Actually, I think it's actually with my boot camp group at Peak Capital. But we were talking about the fear of missing out. And we talk about it all the time, right? FOMO, and it's a thing. But it's a real thing in the markets because I don't care how good you get, you're never going to ever be able to watch everything. One of the skills you have to develop as a trader is to acknowledge that there are going to be things that move every single day that you're just not going to be a part of. And you have to sort of become okay with that because, it may not have been your style. And even if you were watching it, it may not have given you the trade entry or opportunity that you like. It's easy to look at a chart afterwards and say, oh my God, if I just taken it here, and then sold it here, right? Good old two-finger trading. I would have made a ton of money. But the reality is, it probably wouldn't have been that easy even if you were watching it. So, AMC to me was a good reminder of that because I was watching it around, as it was sort of consolidating here around midday, and I had no expectation at that point it was going to go up another, $8 from there. So sure, it's easy to look afterwards and say, oh my God, if I just got in at 23, I could have held and it would have been brilliant. But I didn't know that, and it didn't give me the technical signals I was looking for to trade it. So just food for thought that don't beat yourself up over the stuff you miss. It's going to happen every day. So, but let's look at what we're going to do.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Peter.
Yep.
I just want to throw on top of that. Just remember, too, stocks like AMC's, Chris in the chat room said it yesterday, they're like unicorns, right? This isn't like a normal trading thing that you should expect to be getting or doing every day. This is just when you find yourself in the right opportunity at the right time, stick to your strategy in the way that you manage your trades. And if you happen to catch an incredible move out of it, fantastic. But it's nothing to base your everyday upon, right? This is just that moment. These happen once every couple of months, once a year, once every couple of years. You'll get a trade that just really, really runs like that. So I was just fortunate to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a good point. Actually, they're fun, but they happen. And they happen occasionally. And if you happen to catch one, great. But don't sort of live your trading life looking for them because that's a way to you'll drive yourself to distraction. All right, so let's look at the markets overall, and maybe I haven't had a chance to throw up the economic reports and Fed speakers, but let me bring up the page. We like to go to Market Watch, and it gives us information. So maybe I'll bring that up for you here, Thor, and you can tell us what's happening out there today. Oh, I gotta bring it to the right place. Here we go.
There it goes. Oh, look. I have Market Watch too. What page do you get that part off? I gotta start using that. It's the calendar page. I gotta start using that more.
Yeah, well, we can provide it to everybody in the room here. There it is. And maybe for those on YouTube, if you're interested in the link, you can call it up yourself. There it is. All right.
How cool is that? So looks like 9 a.m. We got Lael Brainerd speaks and is talking on crypto. That was Monday. Let's see what we've got going on Friday. Personal income 8:30, consumer spending 8:30. I'm not sure how that went. Let's see, 6% over 4%. So that seems to be pretty in line, or 5 to 4. Core inflation numbers and trade. Oh, okay, trade in goods deficit might be that came out. So I'm not really seeing anything in here too crazy. The one thing that I will note that is that we've got a holiday coming up on Monday. I think for most of us that have been trading the market for a couple of years, days like today can often be a very low volume type of day. Even with the meme stocks doing their thing, a lot of the big money has already got on the yacht and is rolling away to the Caribbean for the weekend or something like that. So they've already cashed out the big money. It's the end of the month, Memorial Day coming out. They're taking the family to go do stuff, so they're just not trading. So I notice on Fridays, especially before Memorial Days, Labor Days, we tend to have a lot of low volume here. So just keep that in mind. So, but yeah, it looks like just some Fed speak and some economic reports this morning already came out. Market seems to not have overtly responded in one way or the other to it, at least not yet.
Yeah, I'm thinking there might be a data error in this consumer spending number is posted because it's actually 0.5% versus an estimated 0.42 growth. So I'm not sure what that means, but
Okay.
as you said, the markets don't seem to care. So at this point,
Yeah.
anyway, so.
Maybe they're waiting for them to correct the web page. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Maybe. All right. Well, with that, why don't we?
I don't know what the numbers are.
Let's move into seeing what the Gappers list has for us today. And look at that. Right at the top of the Gappers list is AMC. So I don't think there's anything new. I mean, this is, our good friends at Wall Street Bets and a lot of retail trading yesterday. I actually don't know what the final number was, but I think it traded well, actually I can tell right here, but it was like 700 million shares. It was just, It was insane. 700 million shares. Look at the volume. And it's not just a one-day phenomenon. If you look here at the daily chart, the volume has been ramping up for the last few days. So I honestly think we could have an interesting day on it. Whether it actually gives a trading opportunity or not, though, is a different story. So unless there's something, some actual news against it, I mean, great, movie theaters are reopening, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. It was gapping up, but ever since about 6:30 this morning, I'm watching this thing sort of leak off here. So definitely staying on my list.
Yeah, AMC with our pivot ranges, AMC went straight to our R4 pivot. And immediately turned around and started going the other direction. It's just kind of showing we're going to open on a much wider range on AMC today than yesterday. So we kind of expect to be bound more to that range today. We've already hit the top of it, and we're already starting to sell off towards the bottom. So longing AMC right now, probably not a great idea. If I was going to play AMC, value on AMC that was well established, and Jared threw this number out yesterday, was around $27. I would want this thing to at least sell off to 27, ideally 23, before I would start looking to take any longs on this thing.
So I'm just throwing in the pivots here so you can see them. We've got the R4 to S4 levels. I have not updated my software. I know that Thor, you were excited yesterday with the 5 and 6 levels being added there, but I don't have that update yet.
And then DOS put out a release. Wait. They're not added yet. That's not a live release. Everybody please uninstall and put back. And I'm like, sorry, you put it in the auto updater. I got it. I'm not giving it back.
It's mine. It's mine now.
I did not downgrade. I'm still rolling. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. So next on the list is Lizzie Lizi. Now I know this was on the list yesterday. That's why I was sort of let's see what it did. See, yesterday it didn't do much. A little bit of action at the open. It popped up, but look at how flat it was yesterday. So again, it's on the gappers list today, but I don't know why I would expect anything different. So pre-market action doesn't look great. Still. Despite second day here, doesn't look like a good trading stock for my money. COS is next on the list. Pre-market doesn't look fantastic. I actually tried to look up some news. I didn't find anything in a quick review. I don't know if you guys have anything on KOSS. It sounds familiar. I think I've traded it in the past, or at least looked at it. I assume this is probably earnings, but... it's up almost 9%.
It's a meme stock mainly.
Is it? What is it?
KOSS is also in the WSB crowd as far as news goes. Short interest is around 15%. So it's one of the other ones that they've been targeting for their little game.
Okay. All right. Well, it's good to know. So maybe, with AMC moving, and let's take a peek at GME. GME, it didn't move quite as well yesterday as certainly AMC did, but it's the other go-to. It doesn't look great this morning. So, all right. Well, maybe costs will move. I don't see a reason to pay attention to it. I'll leave it here for now. CRM, now this has got to be earnings. The only time CRM, which is Salesforce.com, pops up on my list is when we've got earnings. And I got to tell you, so far, not liking this chart. In fact, I realized what happened here. Hold on a sec. I added this. What always happens if you don't remove and go to the scale? There you go.
There you go.
All right. But still, CRM doesn't look good. It doesn't usually, and frankly, as many times as I've watched it, rarely found a good trade on it. I probably won't be watching it. Is this earnings? I assume that's what's going on here, but you don't have to.
Yeah, it looks like it. And I'm with you, Peter. I actually find CRM to be a relatively poorly trading stock. Its spread can get very inconsistent. And we've already had a big gap after hours yesterday. It made a big old move up to 239. So it'd be hard to just start going long now. So if anything, I'd be looking for a gap and drop. On this thing today if I was going to play it.
I'll leave it here so maybe we can help set levels a little bit later, but for now, it probably is not going to make my final list. Workhorse was next. There it is. I thought I spelled it wrong because it wasn't popping up. Workhorse has been on and off the list. It can be a decent trader. Pre-market doesn't look great. I don't know what's going on today to get this up on the list, but... Thor, if you have anything, let me know, but it's not looking like a good target for me.
Nothing fresh that I can see. I know it was, they've just kind of have a little bit of, they've had some issues with it and like EV related stuff, but I don't see anything that just pops out right on my. If anyone in the chat room has some knowledge on anything specific there, throw it in, but I'm not seeing anything right off the cuff.
I do like the look of the daily. I mean, look at the tiny little candle, so it hasn't been a big mover intraday. However, it's just over $10. It's above this consolidation area, so we've got potential room up to 12, 13 if it runs, but I don't see any particular indication that it's going to do that today, but who knows? Maybe I'll leave it there. We can set some firm levels a little bit later. Beyond Meat. Now, that was another one that was, sort of signaling some moves yesterday. Now, it actually did move yesterday morning because I know that Mike, who does his high of day break, if you look at yesterday morning, he got opportunities as it broke the high of day here and a nice little run for a few bucks. So it did put some moves in that, looking at it bounce here off of VWAP, there certainly was opportunity. Didn't make my list. Maybe that's to my detriment yesterday, but I assume this is just a continuation play from yesterday's excitement. The daily looks strong. It's been gapping. Look at all the gaps here. I have to say, while it looks strong, I don't necessarily like things that like gap every single day. But maybe on this Friday-
BYND lately, Peter, has been like this. It's such a pain to trade because it moves after hours, and then in the morning you get like a little like $1, $2 pop on it, and then it just consolidates for the entire rest of the day and then moves after hours.
Right.
It's been very interesting to watch it. I haven't been playing it for that reason because I
Okay.
just have low expectations for what I'm going to get out of it.
Right. So I've got a bunch of stuff that are like, whoops, not great that maybe we'll watch. So sorry, I meant to add another row. I'll separate the stuff I actually like from the stuff that is sort of just a secondary list. Anyways, all right, let's keep going through this. I should mention, by the way, I meant to mention this off the top. Don't forget, guys, today is a Friday before long weekend. My experience has been the open trades, like any other Friday, so you can get good trades. But the volume tends to die off fairly quickly, and as people sort of, especially the big money, leave early for the long weekend. So it can get very quiet in the afternoon. Now, that being said, when some of the big money leaves and the volume drops off, you can get huge moves, because you don't have as much, so a lot of the retail traders can take over and they can push things more aggressively. So, AMC, it could go crazy this afternoon as a result of that, because we know it's a big Wall Street bet target. Maybe costs will move like that as well. So, while the volume will drop off and generally you'll get flatter markets, there could be some great opportunities. So we'll see what happens. I'm here all day. Hopefully I'll be in the right place at the right time to catch one of those, so we'll find out. Anyways, let's get back to our list here on OCGN. It's been a fairly consistent presence here on the list. Again, 800,000 shares, gapping up 3.8%. Pre-market, oops, no, that's not pre-market. How about this? There you go, that's pre-market. That doesn't look quite as good. I'm like, I think it's in a, or as Andrew would say, meh. It's sort of just meh. Pre-market, it's in a zone. Daily, it's sort of in a zone. I might get interested. You notice I've got a daily level already marked here at 934. If it pops over that, then maybe I'll pay some attention. Right now, nothing to write home about, in my opinion. FCell.
Yeah, I think OCGN's been buying up a little bit lately because they're rumored to be on track for FDA authorization for their COVID vaccine, Covaxin. So I think a lot of people are just kind of buying the rumor a little bit on this one to, if they end up getting that FDA approval, then money. But just remember, when you're buying the rumor, you're buying without fundamental support. You're just buying because you hope something's going to be worth more later. Right. And so in those instances, I find the stock gets hard to trade because people get so paper handed in a stock when there's not fundamental reason for carrying it. You don't get the big boy support, so just anything can turn the price around and make it big wicks, choppy action, crazy stuff.
I like how things enter the lexicon. So now we have diamond and paper hands. It's an acceptable term to describe trading sentiment. It's beautiful. All right.
Brilliant, isn't it?
I know. All right.
I consider myself to be glass-handed.
Glass-handed? Shatter easily? All right.
Just shatter easily.
Yeah. All right. Well, FCell's on our list again. Doesn't look great. 500,000 shares. I'm not really liking it that much. Plug is the next thing I'm seeing here. Let me just delete this one. Plug. Another meh. Pre-market looks sort of okay, but not great. Plug and FCell are both stocks that generally, if they start to move, they'll show up on our gappers list, or people in our chat room, for example, will call it out, and then I'll pay attention. I don't, as long as I have other things that I prefer to watch, I probably wouldn't keep a close eye on them. So we'll leave those there, and interrupt me anytime, Thor, if you've got actual news on these things. I'll assume it's just general market movement.
Yeah, we'll do.
We're getting down into the 2%ers, and usually those are just sort of, random moves. It could be a few orders that push it there. So CLOV, for example, Clover Health up 2.2%, 300,000 shares. Daily's moving up here. It could break above this level. If we get up above 820, it might be interesting to move higher. But so far, pre-market doesn't look fantastic. And the last I've got on my list is PLTR, another frequent presence. Now, PLTR, Brian started getting me to pay attention to this, where he used to say PLTR does its PLTR stuff, which basically means it's really hard to predict what it's going to do. I find trading it at the open it's a crapshoot at best. It's jumpy, it's choppy.
Yeah.
So, I don't usually...
Wide stop on PLTR. It goes crazy.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that it moves a lot during the day. But if you're trying to trade it at the open, it can be tough. Now, that being said, we've got an upward trend on the daily. This seems to be a common theme for a lot of these. So, there may be a level here if it can break above 2350 that it might get going. I guess we'll see. All right, so let's look at what's happening to the downside. PRVB. Now, this was on... I think this hit the list yesterday or earlier this week sometime. I remember it. It sounds familiar. Maybe it was a couple of days ago because I see it here. It had that big gap up on the 25th. So what would that would have been Wednesday, right? Big gap up, but then sold off throughout the day. I see it's down again today. This is probably it just continuing to lose steam. Doesn't look great pre-market.
Yeah, it looks like some lawsuit stuff coming in on them. And then they've been, that looks to be what's moving them. They've had lawsuit stuff been kicking up since the 25th, and that's continuing to give them a little bit of a tough time.
Okay. All right. Well, that could have an impact again. I'm not sure it's one that I want to trade really. So it doesn't look great to me. HPQ is on the list. Now, I know this is an earnings play. Hewlett-Packard had earnings, or HP Inc. as they're called nowadays, I guess. Terrible trader, though. The pre-market looks bad. Frankly, I've learned to just avoid it. I will not trade it at all, so I'm going to delete it right now because I don't think it's worth watching. MOXC is next on the list. Wow, daily looks interesting on this one. Moxion Inc. What's the float here? 19 million shares. Pre-market doesn't look great. I wonder, is there news on this? I've lost my news guy. Thor is like missing in action. Oh, there he is. Mox.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
Terminates proposed merger. So they had a merger that it looks like they're... Oh no, that's old news. All right. I don't seem to have any new news. So I don't know what's going on to move MOXC. I don't see any news on it in either of my prime news sources. So nude, Rapzilla, not nude
me either.
news. I mean, if I'd pay attention if there's nude news, but I meant new news. Anyways, all right. Riot. All right. So now we got Riot, Can, Mara, all on the list. So these are all our blockchain offerings. It looks like they're moving down slightly this morning. You notice they're all sort of in tandem, all around 4% drop. Again, I don't like trading blockchain. I mentioned that yesterday. I'll stick to that statement, and I don't generally trade them. So we're going to move on. If you love them, go for it. Like, make some money, but not my bag of noodles. Where did that expression? That's not even an expression. I don't know what I just said. Anyways, I'm sorry. I created this mental image for myself of a bag of noodles. I'm like, that is disgusting. What am I talking about? Anyways, never mind.
Bag of noodles during the nude news. I don't know what's going on here.
I don't know what's going on. Oh, it's Friday.
It's Friday, man. Memorial Day is coming.
Oh, man. All right, I want somebody to create me a meme for that. The damn bag of noodles. All right, I'm distracting myself. Nikola is the last thing on my gap down list.
Amazing.
It had a good move up yesterday. I don't think I looked at it at all. Let me just zoom back to yesterday and see what happened. Wow, steady climber throughout the day yesterday. Didn't do anything exciting except just continue to go up. So if you were smart enough to take this off the VWAP bounce way down here at $13, you could have held on for a couple of dollars, which would have been very nice on Nikola. Yeah, with that move, I actually like that movement myself. I do like the slow, stable stocks. Sometimes they can give you just good, sort of no sweat
Hmm.
moves if you get into them at the right time. So I might just keep this on my list and see what happens. In the room, I saw people calling out Neo. So if you've got other things you want me to take a look at, mention them now, either in the chat room or on YouTube. Neo doesn't look especially attractive this morning. Pre-market is just sort of chopping around. Look how flat this is. Neo hasn't been great, in my opinion, the last few days, although it is on an upward trend here. And yeah, well, I don't know if there's anything particularly interesting to look there. On YouTube, what do you guys got? VTNR. A couple people mentioning that. What is VTNR? I think Ventnor, like Monopoly. Ventnor Place. Anyways, Vertex Energy is what it really is. 51 million
All right, it's
shares, so
moving.
it's not a low float. $6 stock though. So that it wouldn't have been on our gappers because it opened or it closed yesterday below $5. If it's below $5, it doesn't make our list. But wow, almost 19 million shares traded so far. There's got to be some news going out on VTNR this
Yeah,
morning.
they're buying oil refineries.
Okay.
So they're snapping up Mobil's refineries. So Vertex Energy, they have a deal to buy an Alabama oil refinery. So they're trying to go big oil.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. That may be interesting. I don't always play the low float stocks, but we'll see. I mean, it's not a low float. It's got 51 million shares, but it's a low price, and it's going to act, I think, like a low float. We'll see what happens. Interesting. This is not the first day. Yesterday, it had also jumped up, and then ended the day lower. Let me just I want to take a quick peek at what did yesterday's price action look like. So, yeah, not so exciting. Wow, yeah, I may rethink that. See this candle right here? That's a warning sign to me because as much as I mean, I guess it was part of an upward trend signal, so you could have been in this. But wow, that's a huge move. I mean, it had big volume, so at least those were. Well, it had relatively big volume, so at least those are in line. But still, that's a pretty darn big move, and then it just as quickly came back down the ladder. So yeah, this could be volatile if you're trying to trade it. So keep that in mind. All right, what else you guys mentioning? I'll just flip through them quickly to see if there's anything good. TIGR is being mentioned. That does not look good whatsoever. I know it's been around, been mentioned quite a bit, but I don't usually like the way it looks. SHYF. I don't know what that is. Nothing traded today, so no shares. So I don't I don't have any like for that. CLEU. I don't know what these are, guys, but China Liberal Education Holdings. Oh my, never even heard of it. This is like one of these Chinese education stocks. There's been a few of them. I know the Chinese education stocks have generally been beat down. China was issuing some rules that are going to restrict people from using private educational services. But CLEU doesn't seem to be greatly affected. Its daily has been just sort of slowly moving lower, but nothing huge. So. Anyways, all right, so I've got my list. Let's stick with that. Let's just do a quick run through of some of the things that we've presented you this week in announcements, and Thor maybe can tell us what's coming up next week after we enjoy a long weekend. I will mention off the top, because we had to ask the question this morning, by the way, we will not be having our onboarding class on Monday. It is a holiday, so we'll give everybody a holiday. With Carlos on vacation, we'll find out if he's maybe going to pick that up on Tuesday, but for now, just know it will not be on Monday. All right, with that, over to you.
Hey, thanks, Peter. Before we get going on, one other stock I'll throw out there for everyone to keep an eye on today is actually Apple. AAPL. It's not one of the biggest companies out there, but they are getting some fresh downgrades today. They have some fresh downgrades, and they're big ones. Like someone just came out downgrading them to $90, and they're currently trading around $125. So not sure what that does, but if SPY continues to go weak today, like it's been doing in the pre-market a little bit, and tech stalls, Apple might be a good spot to hit a nice short on if it gives you the opportunity. So
Whoops, I'm talking to myself.
All right. So,
Never mind. I was just going to say, you said not one of the biggest companies, and I was thrown off. I'm like, he is talking about Apple, right? Because it is one of the biggest companies. I think you meant not one of the biggest movers.
yeah. That's what I meant. Sorry. Not one of the biggest traders from time to time, but it's definitely got some downgrades. It's got a tight range today, so if it breaks down, things could happen. So,
All right.
anyway, to the community announcements. Hello, my name is Thor Young. You can see my handle below on Twitter at Thor Young. Follow me, say hi, whatever. It's good to see you. You can follow most of the BBT fam out there. You've got Andrew, Carlos, and Norm. You can see them. Don't forget, we got at Peter as well. What is yours, Peter? At Peter BBT?
I'm actually BBT
So,
Peter.
and then BBT Peter. So, and everyone else. So this week we've had a really full week this week at BBT. I did a webinar on Tuesday on how to trade through choppy price action using VPA and ranges, most specifically Camarilla pivots. And we talked about that. We also had a educational session, mentoring last night, where we continued on that and answered a bunch of questions. And both sessions were just an absolute blast, great attendance. So it's definitely the place to be. We had a lot of fun. But coming up next week, I've been plugging this one heavy. I think everyone should try and make it to this one if you can. Jared, our own from Engineering the Markets, is going to be doing a cycles with a technical twist presentation. I think this is going to be very interesting. If you've been following the sessions that he does on Engineering the Markets in the morning, his knowledge of options, squeezes, gamma squeezes, beta, all of these different things, talks about sector rotations and all of these other items that as day traders we're often not thinking about, because that's something more of a swing trader, maybe a long-term trader would be focusing on. But as an intraday trader, we want to focus on those things too, because it helps us form a bias in which direction we expect the trend to go overall. So I'm really looking forward to this one. It's definitely one that I'm not going to miss. So I would recommend everyone else be there. All right. We had a town hall presentation with the incomparable Dr. Katz. I thought it was amazing. That one is posted. The recording is up on that if anyone hasn't caught it yet. Really cool town hall kind of a session where he interviewed some of the peak capital traders, helped them with some psychology issues firsthand. Really cool stuff. We got on next week on Wednesday. We have our Mastermind Pro course, which is going to be with Dr. Kenneth Reed. I love the title on this one, which is A Trader Walks into a Bar. But this presentation is going to be on what he talks about as the misdirection bar, which is a signal that if you start to catch, you can it's a trap signal. And if you can catch it and start paying attention to it, it keep you from getting into a lot of trades where they're trying to kind of represent bull, for instance. You go in and then the price immediately drops. So I'm really interested to see that one, to see, how that all comes in together. Let me just show up for the punchline. BBT member trade of the day. If you haven't done it, come on, do it. It's fun. All you need is a Twitter handle. Get on there. If you get a good trade, something you like, it can be a bad trade. Okay, put in whatever you want. But if you get something good, you really want to show it off a little bit and submit in. Go ahead and mark up your trade. Tell us why you took it, how you took it, and then post it on Twitter, tagging Andrew at Bear Bull Traders, at Mike BBT, and at Norm BBT. Use the hashtags BBT Family, Day Trading, and Stock Market, and that'll get you into our little our member trade of the day contest. The winner gets announced BBT Monday closing show for the week, and you get all the accolades of being really, really cool and getting all the love and support from the BBT family that comes with that. This week's winner was Kyle, and I'm not saying, I think he's been pretty much on cloud nine all week. So interested in joining Bear Bull Traders?
we'd love, everyone out there in YouTube land and everyone out there to kind of see what we're made of as a community. What you see on YouTube is really just the surface when it comes to BBT. Sure, we give you good technical stuff. We try and entertain you a little bit, but the behind the wall side of BBT is where the family is and where the community really strives and puts together. Our main focus is not trading alone, to have a support group, to have friends, to have people that you can, good day, bad day, someone who's going to support you and be around to kind of make you feel a little bit better. The community brings that to you. And on top of that, we have all the educational material you would need to learn how to day trade. So if you want to check that out, we think we can impress you. So we let you try us for $39 for a week. Code pre-market 24. That gets you access to the chat room. Also gets you to our onboarding sessions with Kyle and Carlos. Really cool value just in those items alone. If you come in there, you like us, you love us, you're going to want to stay around for a little while. So we're running a Memorial Day promo on 40% off the annual membership for the elite. This gets you access to all of the webinars and all of the really high level content. Code there, Memorial 40.
All right, thank you. Sorry, I'm slow on the uptake. Busy, like, my bot is sending out punchlines in the chat. So, okay, all right. So let's set some levels. Let's start at the top with AMC. I don't know what levels to set on AMC because I don't know what's relevant anymore. I already have the high of the pre-market that gets automatically marked for me. Right now we're sitting at 33 exactly. That's a pretty good level to watch. Can't believe we're sitting above $30. I have the tinfoil line that we talked about yesterday, so I will mark that. I don't know whether it'll have any relevance today or not, so that's in there. And all the daily levels, interestingly, that I set yesterday. Can I just, by the way, take a moment to pat myself in the back because they're still here. Remember, we set some levels yesterday, and if I could say, all those daily levels that we set is where we saw the stock sort of show some resistance each time. Right, this was the first daily level. Look, it sort of ABC'd around there, hesitated before moving onwards. The next level here, right, pulled back, touched that level, bounced off it, and decided let's go for a run, but almost pulled back to it again a little bit later. So I would say those daily levels that we were setting definitely were sort of on point. So let's look, we have to go back a couple of years. If I remember AMC, oh my goodness, what did I just do? I just hate it when I do that. And now I can't find the top of my chart to reduce it. It's dominating my screen. Oh no. All right, let's go back anyways here. So I got to go back quite a while, back to 2017 before, yes, we get some levels that we got the price play at. So we can see it sort of bounced around this area a couple of times. It's almost right at a level now. You can see this day right here where it sort of hit that, but I'm not sure that's something that's strong enough for me to mark. What I will mark is a level right about here, right around $33. Notice that was the high of the day we talked about. And look at back here in 2015, it bounced off of that a few times. Again, here later in 2016, it hit that level and it gapped down just below that in 2017. So definitely 33 area is a place to watch. And I mean, who knows, right? I mean, we learned yesterday this thing can certainly run. So 35.50 up there is maybe another place to watch. If it goes higher, I'll worry about coming back and looking at that later in the day. So now I've got myself a challenge that I cannot. Is there like anybody know a hotkey to get rid of, to reduce the sizing of a chart? Dang it. Hold on. 1 second. I've got my screen takes over my screen. Hold on. Windows key, down arrow. Oh my good lord. DC, thank you. You saved me. Oh my god, I hate it when that happens. All right, we're back. Apple. I do like
that.
Apple. Apple's one of my yeah, I know. Apple's one of my regular traders. You can see I've got some daily levels already marked. But most of them I was looking at them to the upside. Apple loves to pull up. So with all these downgrades, yeah, we could see a good drop. So I've already got 122 and a quarter marked here. Down below, I definitely see a level I like here around 119. In fact, let me put that right at 119. So there we go. We've got that on Apple, and we'll see what happens. It does look weak this morning. This may be a good candidate for Brian's Rising Devil, right? Where it'll move back up to VWAP, bounce off of it, and then drop as we go into the open. So we'll see what happens with this, but that one is one I'm probably going to watch. Costs, we mentioned. Look, I'll set a level here quickly at $40.42. That's way above the current price action. Other than that, I don't really see anything exciting. There is sort of a minor level here, but it just wicked off of that around $27. Yeah, not loving it. CRM, as I mentioned, not something I love to trade, but you certainly have a high here at 238.30, so I'll put a level right there. Moving back in time, well, we've got a couple of levels up here that we could pay attention to around 250, but I said I'm not going to put an eye to it. Workhorse sitting right at $10. Again, I sort of like the daily pattern, a little double bottom. This looks sort of like my Mountain Pass, but in a weak format. If this thing goes up, again, I don't see a lot of levels until you go up quite a few dollars here around, what is this, 18.50? Wow, that's like way above the price action. Other than that, maybe here, oops, I can set a level at the low, 11.30, so we'll see what happens. Beyond Meat, well, the previous day high and low is going to provide some downside support. This is gapping up again. I'm just moving back. Oh, look at this big gap. So I do like this. I happen to have a level already here that cuts across the top of this candle where it gapped up. I'm going to mark the bottom of the next candle, which is 183.60, so we'll put a level rough there. Look at how that actually happens to coincide with the high of this candle here on February the 16th. So I've got a level just right in between those, which will keep me for beyond. OCGN, I've already got a few things marked here at 1365 and 1620, as you can see. I was noticing it, looking at it a second ago, that there is another level right here at about 1060 I can watch. And while these are close together, I like the bottom of gap candles, so I'm going to put one at 1090 just to see if it gets up that high. This may be a place where we see some resistance if it continues up. CLOV doesn't look fantastic to me pre-market, although it is starting to move a little bit more now. So if we get some topside movement, there could be a range right here. I see back in March it bounced off of the $9 level roughly, and then certainly watch the whole dollars up at 10 and 11. PLTR, second to last one I'll look at. Another one that's gapping up today, but just minorly. It's such a flat chart. I don't really love anything. I'll put a level here at 26. I can see that it sort of hit here at 24 and a quarter, so I'll put a level right there. And then last but not least, VTNR. Big gapper today. We got to go way back in time. Let's see. Is this all-time high? No. Definitely not. All right. We just have to go back a little ways here. So back 2014, it looks like 2014 is the last time it was this high. So that's a long time ago. I'll put a level there at 674, which is the top of that candle. I don't know whether that's going to have any bearing, frankly, on the price. You know what? I'm not even going to set anything else. We'll wait and see what happens. This is probably just going to be, you're going to play it on intraday momentum rather than daily levels would be my opinion, but we'll see what happens. All right, guys, that's all the levels out there. Let me quickly just drag my buddy Thor over this way and show you guys some from our I got to make sure this is in the screen. It is. Oh, and I'm late again today. Oh my goodness, that's my 10-minute to market open. But anyways, our moderators have their lists out very quickly. John's looking at Beyond, GME, mRNA, Facebook, Airbnb, and Roblox. He actually had a good trade in Roblox yesterday. Dima, she's watching PLTR, FCell, Plug, and Apple. Mike is watching his Hive Day scanners, as always, with a focus on Facebook, Boeing, Beyond, and NVIDIA. Brian is watching PRVB, AMC, Plug, PLTR, Beyond, and VTNR. I'm not surprised he's got that one on his list. Andrew, AMC, Workhorse, FCell, Plug, and PLTR. So we got some commonality there. Eamon, NVIDIA, PDD, and Bank of America. Interesting. And Jared has some meme stocks. He's taking a look at BlackBerry. I didn't look at BlackBerry at all, but we're out of time. AMC and GME, and then a couple of Facebook and Plug are also on his list. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Again, trade safe. It is the Friday before a long weekend. It could be exciting, or who knows, right? Or it could be flat. So we'll see what happens. Either way, we're happy to have spent the morning with you, and give us a thumbs up, yes, as Thor is indicating there in YouTube. We'd really appreciate that. And hopefully you'll join us here in the room. Consider that trial membership, or even joining us as an elite member when you get access to all of our material. So, trade safe. We'll see you guys next week if you're on YouTube. And if you're in the room, get ready for some fun. Later.
Have a great one, everyone.
Get ready for